Me here today just in a show of support. They were unwavering in their support throughout this investigation, continued to be so today, and have supplied unlimited resources when asked in the furtherance of this investigation. So I thank them for being here today in support as well. We're also joined by Mayor Schiller from McClary, Chief Bloomer from McClary PD, and our prosecutor, Katie Savoda, from Grace Harbor County. I'm here today to share with you that we've brought Lindsey home. We've recovered her. Sadly, she was not recovered as we and her family had hoped and prayed these last 9 years. Her remains were recovered in September of 2017, unknowingly, by some hunters in a remote portion of eastern Washington. Those remains were turned over to local authorities, who in turn released them to the FBI, where they were confirmed to be human and sent to the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia, for analysis for DNA. Because the remains were not associated with a specific criminal investigation, they were not analyzed for DNA until just recently. So just in the recent week were we notified that the DNA collected from the remains matched the DNA submitted to the lab in 2009. Today we will not be releasing a lot of specific information. To protect the integrity of what's now a kidnapping and homicide investigation, we're going to keep our remarks rather general. I'll not be releasing the specific location or the nature of the remains. As the case progresses, that information will become available when we feel it's appropriate. For now, suffice to say that myself, my fellow sheriffs, the FBI, and all of the law enforcement agencies who have been involved in this investigation will remain involved as needed until we bring the monster that's responsible for this and hold them accountable. So I'd like to turn this over now to Special Agent Rano.
Thanks, Sheriff. As Sheriff Scott said, my name is Kurt Rano. I'm a supervisory special agent with the FBI in our Seattle Division Tacoma office. Very briefly, from the Bureau's perspective, we view this as a Grays Harbor County-led investigation, and we are supporting them in that regard. And to that end, all the Bureau's resources are available to them. In terms of the specifics of the investigation, I will defer all of those questions to Sheriff Scott and his team. Thanks.
So I know everybody has tons of questions. The vast majority of them, unfortunately, today will probably not be answerable. On behalf of the Baum family, they thank you for your continued support in helping to get the information out concerning this investigation, in the hopes that that will bring forward additional information now in identifying the person or persons responsible for the death of Lindsey Baum. The Baum family has asked for some privacy. As you can understand, they are devastated by this and want some time to themselves in order to get their head wrapped around what's happened. I anticipate in a future press release, when we're able to release more details, that a representative of the Baum family will want to speak to you personally, but for now they're asking for some privacy, and I ask that you respect that. There's really no additional information that I have at this point. I will take questions. I can't promise you that I'll give you answers.
Sure. We've talked to you for 9 years about this case. You've always said this one will always haunt you. Now that we know that it's a homicide and a kidnapping, does that change anything? How, from your side of the...
Well, now we have a location that we can search forensically, and that's what's being planned for the immediate future, in the hopes of finding additional evidence that will, in a perfect world, point towards a suspect. That being said, our focus now is to solve a kidnapping homicide. For the last 9 years, we've not been able to say definitively what this was beyond it was a missing child. And certainly the prayers and hopes of the family was that we would someday find her alive and bring her home. Now the reality is we need to find a homicide suspect.
Sheriff, can you characterize not to talk about evidence, but what evidence will investigators or can investigators look for now that you have remains, now that you have a site? What is it you can look for in there that might help?
Well, it could be anything, quite frankly, from forensic evidence to something that will speak to cause and manner of death. I mean, the gamut is wide open with regard to that. So we'll be looking for any and everything from minor forensic evidence to evidence that would point to a suspect.
Can you say this is an area where people might have frequented, somebody could have possibly seen something?
It's a remote area that is primarily visited by hunters during the appropriate seasons, but it's not an area that has any population base of any sort.
Sheriff, why did it take so long for a connection to be made? Did the hunters not realize it was human remains, or what was the...
No, the fact that it was human remains became evident quite quickly, and when the remains were found in 2017, they were sent to the FBI lab for DNA analysis. That's what took so long, because the priority with the lab is to identify those artifacts that are submitted for examination that are tied to a specific criminal investigation, homicide, kidnapping, what have you. When DNA is sent there, or when remains and artifacts are sent there for DNA analysis that have just been randomly located in an effort to determine identity and information about that gets done when the opportunity presents itself. And in this case, that wasn't done until just a few weeks ago.
Any idea of how long the remains have been there and how long?
They were sent to the lab in 2017.
But I mean, how long? What were the condition of the remains, and how was it?
We're not. I'm not in a position, Keith, to talk about that today.
Is there as yet a national registry DNA bank to check nationwide?
Yes, yes,
there
sir.
Is existing now?
Yeah. In fact, yes, yeah. There's.
It's
Yes.
still early, but is there any plans for a public vigil or memorial?
Not at this time.
Can you specify any further? Can you specify which county this was located?
No, at this point, because of the location and working with the local jurisdiction, we really need to keep the area under wraps so that we can adequately search it and not impede that effort by having well-intended people interfere with that.
Sheriff, were the remains buried, or was there any attempt to...
I can't discuss that today.
But doesn't this give you some hope, though, of more things to search, more possibilities of traveling of people over in that area?
Certainly, this is a major development in this investigation, and we hope that it will be one that creates the information we need to make an arrest.
Sheriff, over the years you've located video and reviewed that. Does this change anything with the facts that you have so far in the case?
Not able to talk about that today.
When did you get word of that connection?
Just recently.
This week? Today?
It was a couple of weeks ago.
What was the delay in letting us know?
We can't talk about that today either.
Are you close to a possible arrest?
I'm not in a position to talk about that, Keith.
Who's the detective currently assigned to it? Is it still Detective Peterson?
No, actually, Detective Sergeant Darren Wallace is in charge of the investigation at this point and working with other members of my command staff.